Well, again, thank you for taking the time to stop by, and we are recording this remotely during quarantine, so I'm glad
Yeah,
we
man.
figured out the technical difficulties and making the most of the social distance situation.
Yes, man. That's what it's all about, you know. I feel like, people that find a way to navigate during these times and still are able to do the things that they're passionate about. That's going to separate. That's going to separate people. People that are hungry and versus people who just are willing to accept. The circumstances that are given to them.
That's a good place to start. I was thinking because podcasting, there's a huge demand for podcasts during this time. We were talking a little bit before how downloads have shot up, and I'm sure that there's a similar effect in music with more people spending time at home, but the whole live music and touring aspect is just completely taken away. So for you as a recording artist, how has the current pandemic situation been affecting you?
I mean, like you said, on the streaming side, I think people are home, so you would hope that the stream numbers go up. I mean, it's still too early to be able to get that information, still from the on the data. But I think also the messed up part about streaming, I was just talking to my manager Sam about this, is that a lot of people stream music on their way to work. You know what I'm saying? Like on
Yeah.
their way to work, and then when they're working out at the gym. And just doing things out and about, you know what I'm saying? Playing music, poolside, if it's like spring, summer. And so, if you're limiting people to their homes and, not only that, but, you're not allowing them to kind of get together with friends and family and stuff, it kind of limits some of those places where music exists, you know what I'm saying? And so you would think the
Yeah.
streaming numbers go up, but I think everybody's on the couch watching Netflix and Hulu and all that shit.
That's
You know
true.
what I'm saying? So
It might it might balance out the time that people are spending walking to work or being around outside their homes listening to music
yeah.
may, and now that that's taken away, it may be canceled out by the extra time they're listening to music in their apartments and stuff like that. And I'm the same way. I listen to music and podcasts. My walk to work every morning is about 25-30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I'm just jamming the entire time, and it makes everything fly by. Like your walk has a soundtrack to it. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the
That's
time that
real.
I take for myself in the morning.
Yeah, man. No, it's real, dude. And so I think there's not one person there's not one like industry that isn't affected, you know what I mean, in some sort of way. And so it's just a matter of trying to figure out, all right, what am I going to do to kind of rise above the occasion, and to make sure that I'm in a good enough place where, I can, pay my rent, pay my mortgage, pay the bills and stuff like that, and I think, that's a hustler's challenge, you know what I mean? And that's something I pride myself on is having that mentality where, I'm it's been a struggle from day one for me, you know what I'm saying? And there was, there's no major label, there's no team of 20, 40 people that, are going to getting things done for me. There was never that, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the stuff that I did, I had to do on my own. So just having that as a background for moments like this, I'm just like, all right, bring it on, man. This is like,
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out another way to flip it.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. 100%.
Has there been anything that you've been able to do to offset the cost of not being able to tour and perform? Anything that you've been able to push into overdrive that you can do at home, or maybe make up some of the financial losses that you're seeing on the touring end?
Honestly, like lucky for me, touring wasn't the major source of revenue. Anyway, you know what I mean? I invested a lot of time in building my presence in the digital space, streaming and music videos on YouTube and stuff like that. So that stuff we're doing it right here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it's
exactly.
stuff we can continue doing. The digital space is, unless something catastrophic happened to the internet where the internet just went away, it's something that, it allows us to continue working and to kind of be above life in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like when shit happens in life where you can't go outside, like now, we're able to continue to exist. So lucky for me, that's the main source of revenue is streaming. So anybody watching this right now, go stream the music because that definitely helps out.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, so lucky for me, touring hasn't, you know, and I also got my tour in Europe.
Yeah, I saw that. I was watching the recap videos. That looked dope on your IG story.
Appreciate it, man.
Or IGTV.
Yeah, it was, man, it was epic. You know, to see people that English is it's not their first language, but they're still, you know, singing the words back. It was awesome. But yeah, luckily I was able to get that in before all this stuff happened. So I kind of had my big tour already this year. You know, so I lucked out a little bit.
Yeah, and you mentioned the internet crashing. That's a real concern because you see companies like Amazon and Netflix putting a cap on the streaming quality just so everyone's not crashing the internet. Because we're kind of running two experiments side by side in society right now, which is remote working. What are people gonna do remote working? Is it more productive? Is it less productive? How can people adapt? So we're gonna have all this data after the fact. I think when we start to get out the other side of this, okay, let's look at how we actually performed at home. Like, should we allow employees to work at home more? And then also the internet. How can our internet handle basically everyone on it at the same time?
Everybody
has access to it. Like, what is the limit to our internet? Can the whole basically network that holds together our entire world crash, or will it hold up in times like this? So it's like interesting to see how it's going to pan out.
Yeah, no, that's true, man. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, we'll see. You know, they're definitely collecting the data, though. I know that much.
So I'm gonna embarrass you a little bit.
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. I'm gonna ask you to jump into the perspective of what it's like to be a fan of YONAS for a sec. If you were to jump into the mind of your own fans, but I'm gonna preface it with a quote.
Shit.
And this is from the project Harlem World by Mace, because I
that's
heard you
my
talking
favorite
about
joint.
that's your favorite project, yeah. And there's a song called "What You Want," and one of the lines is, "Girl, in my eyes, you're the baddest. The reason why I love you.
You don't like me because my status."
Yeah. So knowing that YONAS fans are ride or die, and you've been independent for so long, and people absolutely love you and love your music, in your eyes, why do fans love YONAS? What is the reason that they love you? Because it's
I mean, honestly, that's easy for me. Just because I feel like it's because I'm just authentic. You know, I am who I am, and you know, I'm not afraid to talk about the things that I struggle with. You know, I'm not afraid to poke fun at myself at the same time, and I have a sense of humor. Where I feel like, you know, without naming names, but I feel like there's certain artists that, you know, don't have that sense of humor. They take things a little too seriously. There's no fun in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, in life, there's no fun in that. Like, imagine you know, you're hanging out with somebody that just takes everything way too seriously. You're going to be like, yo, that motherfucker's lame.
But there's a quote that goes something like, take what you do seriously, but don't take yourself seriously.
Right. 100%. I agree with that. At least not all the time, right? There's times for you to, you know, obviously for you to be dead serious, but there's also, you know, for the most part, life is, you know, supposed to be enjoyable, and you're supposed to make the best of things. And so anyway, so I think it's just that, you know what I'm saying? It's like the authenticity, just me being me. And then, you know, that's from a life perspective. And I've always made myself accessible in like moments like this where I'm just, you know, streaming and talking, just like you and I are just chatting. I've done that in the past where I went on, you know, before people were doing live streams, I found a way to get on YouTube and live stream on YouTube. And so I used to get on there and just hang out with people. I called it Hang Out with YONAS. And so I would just sit in my living room, right, or wherever I was at, and just turn on the computer and just live stream. And then people would ask me questions from all over the world, and I would, you know, talk to them. You know, we would get trolls in the chat room, and I would go back and forth with the trolls. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just fun, you know, engaging with people. And, you know, and people remember that, you know what I'm saying? Like they remember their good times with their friends. You know, I don't want there to be too much of a difference between me and somebody you would hang out with in the real world. You know what I'm saying? Like, because at the end of the day, we're all on this journey together. And if I can help somebody in life just by being me, and they feel like they could connect with somebody, then, I feel like I've done my job. So.
Yeah, and it's hard for people to get under your skin if you know how to make fun of yourself.
100%.
If you know the things that people are going to come at you with, and you just feed into it and even take it a step further and are willing to join in that joke and make fun of yourself, it kind of disarms the people that don't like you, and then the people that do like you, it makes them like you even more.
That's real life judo, man. Just take that momentum and flip it.
You should be the first rapper to ever write a diss track about themselves and then respond to that diss track.
Oh, I like that. Hey, I'm not mad at that.
Like the enemy mindset of Jonas, and then create an alter ego and then come back.
Dude, hey, don't be surprised. In 30 days, you might hear that coming out of my quarantine.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about quarantine. Like, there's some hours that come back into your day, and I know that you're a father, so you have a whole set of responsibilities that I don't have.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But for the degenerates like me, you can do your work. I'm not transporting myself back and forth. Like the gym, I'm doing bodyweight workouts in my living room, so probably have like between 2.5 hours that just come back into my day because I'm not leaving. Yeah. And so I'm just sitting around, and dumb shit pops up into my head, and like one out of every 100 of those ideas will be something that I'll actually want to do, but it's like almost a hyper creative state, I feel like, in quarantine, because you're sitting around with yourself for much longer than you usually do. No,
100%. I've definitely been in that same headspace where it's just like you just have that a little bit of extra time to go a little bit further with your thoughts and be like, oh shit, I'm thinking about dissing myself on a record.
Like you can actually explore the things that pop up in your head on a walk or something. You can go back and you're sitting there and you're like, I have an hour, maybe I'll record this, or maybe I'll write that article
to make it actually happen.
Do whatever.
No, that's crazy, man. But yeah, dude, it's, I appreciate that time. And it's like, I think about people who don't necessarily have an outlet or like a thing that they like to do, or they haven't discovered what their passion was because of whatever reason. You got to imagine, like, what the fuck are they doing right now? They're sitting there, probably watched every show that they could watch, and then now they're just like trying to figure out you know what I mean? Like, and then that's when, maybe perhaps from those moments, like, people discover whatever their next passion would be, because from boredom, comes creativity. You know what I'm saying? And so it's interesting. I think it's an interesting time for a lot of people, and I think it was actually like the perfect time to hit the reset button. I think life, has a funny way of working like that, where, I think we were just as a country, as the globe, as a human civilization, I think we were, just inundated with, news headlines and, headlines on the internet popping up, fake news, real news, arguing with people on Facebook back and forth. And then, life just came along. It was just like, all right, well, how much does all of this really matter? You know what I'm saying? You guys, acting stupid out here. Well, here's a preview of what life could be. You know what I'm saying? Like forever, bro. Yeah. And so, I think it's a much needed reset for a lot of people. And as long as you use the time wisely and you're smart about it.
Yeah, it's definitely a reset. I saw someone tweet something the other day that was like, it took some guy biting into a bat in China for us to actually be social on social media.
Is that actually what happened? Someone ate a fucking bat?
So from what I understand, and some of the people that I followed recently on Twitter that are actually virologists and should be the ones speaking about this, but I mean, I'll pretend like I'm a virologist for 1 second. I'll take their
virologist. I'm not even gonna pretend like I know what the fuck a virologist is.
They study viruses.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I learned something new today.
That's what I found out too. So they said they talk about how there were animals in China that were in close proximity to each other in these meat markets, and there's just a bunch of exotic meats all over the place, stuff that we don't eat here, like bats, ferrets, dogs in cages and just really close to each other. So apparently these diseases can spread from one animal to the next, and then from that animal can go into humans. So it's basically like an incubator for viruses, which is why these markets are so bad, why they should outlaw just keeping all these animals, weird animals in close proximity to each other, and then that allows it to kind of marinate, and then a better chance of jumping over to the human population.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, thanks China.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's crazy how like one event and some cultural taboo of their society can be responsible for an entire thing just overtaking the globe. Like literally one guy ate a bat supposedly and then caught this virus, and then flash forward 4 months later and 200,000 people are infected.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Yeah, it's wild. But it's also like, okay, when things like that happen, which, things like that are bound to happen, when you've got how many billion people on the planet? Is it 7 billion plus?
Yeah, it's 7 billion and change.
7 billion and change. So when you've got 7 billion people, things are bound to happen. You can't keep control of everything, right? But it's what happens and how we react when those things happen, right? And apparently, like from what I'm reading from multiple sources, is like we had the information 2-3 months ago, that this could potentially happen. And we sat on it. It's just like, something crazy's potentially about to hit, and you don't do anything about it. And now look,
there were a lot of experts blowing the whistle too back in the early 2000s after the SARS outbreak and previous outbreaks, saying, these things are going to happen again. There's 100% possibility. There's 100% probability of this happening again. It's just when it's going to happen and how deadly it's going to be and what we're going to do to prepare for it. And I think, it's human nature to be bad at long-term planning. We don't really recognize threats as well unless they're right in front of us. So things like climate change, or, there could be a virus outbreak in 20 years from now. We're lucky that it's only as fatal as it is right now, which is still terrible. But there could be something that comes in the future. Like this could be a dress rehearsal for something much worse in the future. So I hope we learn from it.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it definitely is. It's like, you need the right people to learn from it, right? Because there's not much we can do. I mean, there's a lot we can do, but in terms of like preventing it or having advanced knowledge, all that stuff happens at some of the top levels. Intelligence agencies, federal governments, stuff like that, where they need to be relaying those messages to us because we don't get that information on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, stuff like that. It's like, all right, hopefully the government learns from that. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, we'll be able to learn what we need to do in our daily lives. You know what I'm saying? Like there's people out there fucking licking toilet seats and doing coronavirus challenges and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, cause the government don't take it that seriously. So, you don't expect everyone else to take it that seriously.
Yeah. There's some dumb fucking people.
Some dumbass people.
Like as smart as the smartest people are, there are also people that are that dumb.
Straight up.
The whole, like most people are just like chilled in the middle. And I'm one of those average Joes that's just like, watching the dumb people and being like, how the fuck could they do that? And then I'm watching the smart people. I'm like, yo, how the fuck did they do that? And then like I'm just in the middle, just chill.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, bro. We right there in the middle. It's crazy, dude. Yeah. And there was actually some kids out here that were like in one of the places I live at in Virginia. It's like they're out there fucking coughing on produce. You know what I'm saying? And like the coronavirus challenge, like, and it's just like, what the fuck? Well, I don't understand. Like, who does that? That's where we're at. You know what I'm saying? It's like, do it for the gram. You know what I'm saying? That's where we are. That's where, you know, at least this next generation, you know, a good portion of them, that's where they're at. You know what I'm saying? Is they just think shit is hilarious all the time.
Yeah, whatever they can capture on camera. It's I have, I don't know if you'd call it sympathy, but I could at least understand, having been a dumb teenager, what it's like to have an idea and then just do it. Like, there's no separation. You just, an idea runs through your head and you just do it and you don't think about it at all. But now with, you know, Snapchat, Instagram, and you being able to show it in real time, then that urge is even quicker. Like, if one of your dumbass friends says, yo, let's go viral on TikTok and we'll cough on some lettuce or cough on some cabbage or something.
Man, bro.
And then you do it. Now it's like that extra aspect of social media just eggs you on even more.
Yeah. But there gotta be levels. There gotta be levels to it. Yeah. Like, you can't be that fucking crazy. Like, I did a lot of dumb shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, as a teenager, I definitely was, you know, situations where, you know, it could have went way left, and lucky for me it didn't, you know, but that's just a product of growing up in the Bronx. And then, you know, kind of that was a time too where it's like the streets were being glorified, and, you know, which still happens to this day. But, you know, there's levels to it. It's like, you can't, I don't know, licking toilet seats on some fucking coronavirus shit, man. That's the dumbest shit. Yeah. It's just too much.
So going back to growing up in the Bronx, is there a particular situation in your mind where you could have, like you said, took a hard left and, you know, went in a certain direction, but you ended up thinking better about it, and your life was better for have not gotten into that situation or just going down that road?
There's definitely like one situation where I got into some stuff. Me and some friends we're just hooligans, and we got into some stuff that ended up in us getting arrested and stuff. And, you know, we could have gone away for a while, you know what I'm saying? Like a nice long vacation, as they say.
Quarantine.
Yeah, that's the real quarantine right there. But you know, lucky for us, we didn't have any like priors or anything like that, and so you know, they have this thing called the youthful offender treatment, which you know, if you stay out of trouble for X amount of time, they'll put you in like some sort of probationary thing. And, you know, if you stay out of trouble for like, let's say 5 years, you can, it gets expunged from your record and you're allowed to like live a normal life. And it's kind of like your one get out of jail free card, quite literally, you know? And so I was lucky enough to be in a situation where, the judge was lenient and, you know, gave us that way out. And, you know, but that could have very easily changed the entire course of my life. I would not be here making music. I would not be here talking to you. I would not be, you know, as successful as I am as an independent artist or as anything, quite like really. You know, if that had taken, if it had gone left instead of right. And so, you know, that stands out to me as a you know, as a reminder that, you know, life can change at any moment, you know what I'm saying? And that's, you know, and me just having that as a foundation is exactly why in situations like this, where life has changed for everybody with the snap of a finger, I'm able to kind of adapt my mentality quickly, and just, you know, and think of, all right, what's next to do? Like, what do we do from here? And try and figure out, you know, a way forward, you know what I'm saying? It's instead of getting stuck. So,
yeah. Now you're in voluntary quarantine instead of involuntary.
Now I'm in voluntary quarantine.
Voluntary quarantine is the best.
I got snacks, I got TV, I got, you know, say all the things I would not have if it was involuntary quarantine. So
to go back to the touring aspect a little bit, are there similarities that you notice between cities that are far away geographically but also love hip hop? Like, so, like two places that come to mind for me would be like Atlanta and Berlin. Like they both love hip hop. One's in the United States, one's in Germany. they love hip hop to different levels and are into different trends, but there's definitely like a fandom that exists there. For you, what similarities do you see between those cities when you go there or you perform there? And it doesn't have to be those two in particular, just like
no, that's pretty good, because I mean, there's the sort of similarities, just the way we debate, like who's the best, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like quote unquote like barbershop talk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you get into hour-long debates about who you think is the best artist and why, you know what I'm saying? And just that interaction, I feel like it's so universal. Just from my experience going over to Germany and, talking with, some of the fans out there, and talking to them about what they like right now and who they're listening to, and then trying to put them onto what it is that I'm vibing with, or what we're listening to back home, and then you get into like that, who's your top 5 or who's your top 10, and so just the way that conversation kind of happens, to me, it's all genres, it's all mediums of entertainment. So it's like even the way we talk about sports, and so I think that's super cool, because these are two places that are like, the distance of an ocean, you know what I mean? And we're still able to find that like common ground, and we're still able to communicate in that way. So I'll say that's the biggest like similarity.
That sense of debate that translates to wherever.
Oh yeah, I love that. Cause I talk a lot of shit. You know what I mean? I'm from New York. That's why
rankings are good for talking shit.
Yeah,
it's how you find out about people. You're like, all right, you're a real sports fan. Like,
right.
Give me your top 5 quarterbacks of all time, or
exactly.
Or, top 5 rappers, whatever it is, and then based on that, you gauge someone's how well they know something. If they're bluffing and they're actually reason behind it, or they're just like let's not get into it. They don't really have a top 5.
Yeah, you size each other up. Yeah, and even if you disagree, but you can see that somebody has the knowledge and and the awareness of what's going on. You can at least gain some respect for them. You say, all right, I don't agree with that, but I can see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that too. If it doesn't get too heated, then it leads to a learning opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay, like. Yeah. Tell me why this guy's in your top 5 or whatever when things cool off.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, it's cool. And then I guess to kind of play off that, the differences would be is that overseas, just in general, the appreciation for music and for being able to see your favorite artists and live in concert, it's bar none. Like overseas, they just really appreciate the fact that, an artist from the States took the time and energy to come over and perform. Cause that's something that doesn't happen, very often. They might see their favorite artist once a year, if that. And whereas here in the States, like people are touring throughout the States every couple months, so you kind of get spoiled. And even then it's like, there's like 10 concerts going on on any given night.
That's really hit home now, especially since nothing's really going on, because you're right, we do get spoiled, especially me in Brooklyn, where you can there's 25 things going on every single night, whether it's from like a 30-person venue or 3,000-person venue. You can find something to go to if you really want to, and same thing in Manhattan. And now that that's taken away, you can compensate for it somewhat by listening to music, and I know some artists are doing some live things, but I don't think anything will ever replace the in-person concert experience. Oh yeah,
no way. Just for the simple fact that I don't know, it's weird because being in person, you get to like see like all the mannerisms, you get to hear the audio quality live, and that's where you either gain a huge respect for the artist that you like, or you start to say, or you say like, oh, well, that sounds a lot different from the album. Why does it sound different? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's because that motherfucker uses auto-tune like crazy.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
it takes away from some of that, some of the appreciation that you have for that artist. So it's really like being in the arena, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you know, for both the fans and the artists, being able to, you know, prove yourself, you know what I'm saying? And give the fans an experience at the same time. If you really do care about the art of performing. You know, I've my favorite concert to this day, or one of my favorite acts to see is Empire of the Sun. You know, that's a group, duo, or band, whatever, that I didn't grow up listening to. I grew up listening to Mace and Pac and Big L and, you know, Cameron, Dipset, all those guys. But when you go to their show, it's not just one person like traditional rap shows used to be, where you just pace back and forth on stage. It's like glittered capes, people walking on stilts, you know what I'm saying? People doing acrobatics. There's laser lights and LED screens, and then you're sharing that experience with, like, because their shows at festivals are ridiculous. You're sharing that experience with like 10, 15, 20,000 people, and it just makes for such a moment, you know what I'm saying? And how the fuck would you ever do that on a stream? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, you can't. Yeah, you can never replicate that. The whole spiritual aspect of a music performance, where you feel connected to the artist on stage, and then you also feel connected to each other. I guess on a live stream, you still have that connection with an artist, but you're not, you know, you're not feeding off of the vibe of the, you know, the sweat on the walls and like people jumping around and like all that stuff you can touch and feel. And it's got me thinking about the, like, how right now we're trying to figure out what businesses and what segments of society are essential. And so we'll always have, the government will always provide assistance and bailouts for things like big banks, or that the banks come to mind just because of when the financial crisis happened and banks were going under. The government basically stepped in and said, that's too big to fail. We're going to have to give you guys some funding and just give you help. But then you have the arts community, which now is suffering a lot because of the lack of live events that are being able to be held in person. Yep. And, you know, if huge companies that organize these festivals and keep these venues open, if they start to go under, will the government step in and see the value of the arts community and say, like, whoa, we can't let like all this dissolve. We helped out the banks, we also have to help out the arts community, or like music, dance, Broadway shows, like stuff like that, like things that give people a release and an escape. Yeah. No, it's crazy, dude. And you know, that's so, like, I've been thinking about that just in general, and kind of just thinking about how almost expendable, if that's the right word, the art community is. Just because, like, if you think about it, the you know, banks give out loans, right? And you know, people's homes are purchased through banks. People's businesses are started through loans that they got from banks. You know, the banks are just such a cornerstone and like quintessential part of America and the capitalism that happens in America, that if you let the banks fail, it's not even just the bank, you're almost letting America fail, right? And and so I get it from like the business standpoint, where, you know, you need to give out those bailouts so they can stay afloat, so that everybody can stay in their homes, because if you let the banks, all of them just crash, this country is gone. You could just kiss it goodbye. But if you let the art community crash, okay, what's the worst thing? You don't have music. You don't have, you know what I'm saying? You don't have entertainment. And we can, you know, people, I mean, you still would have entertainment. It would just be
you'll be watching somebody struggling at a cafe in your community, singing for pennies on the dollar, and that's arguably where some of the greatest art came from, was that struggle and people doing it purely for the art, right? Because it wasn't a get rich thing at one point. At one point, you couldn't get rich from just singing, but you could always get rich by giving people loans and then charging them interest on that loan to pay you back over the course of 30 years. So, you know what I mean? It's like, it's weird. And so I feel like it's almost a very, it's a loaded subject, because, you want to fight for the art, community of arts and entertainment, but you also know that at the end of the day, in a capitalistic society, the banks reign supreme. And so the only way to really fix that is for the art community to start giving out motherfucking loans and having, like, you know what I'm saying? Like having some real stake in the welfare of America.
Reserves and stuff for a time like this, where, you can say, all right, here's some money so you can keep creating in the meantime, almost like bailouts for other small businesses. And I think it's easy to quantify the effect that banks and getting loans has on society, because you can put a number on it,
right?
But how do you quantify the hope of going to a Broadway show or the intense high you get from going to see your favorite artist in person, and then you channel that back into the work that you do, even if you aren't in the creative industry, even if you're just like, someone who's an investment banker that listens to music in the background and like does work or uses it to work out. So like, how do you quantify the effect that arts have? So I think that also has something to do with it too, that you can't put a number and be like, if we lose this community, people will be 20% or 30% less productive. It's kind of hard to see. Oh
yeah, no, you hit it right on the head, bro. That's exactly what it is. I mean, I guess, there's no way to really, you know what I'm saying? I guess take the music away and see what happens. If the suicide rate goes up, that people needed that music to cope with their day-to-day lives.
Well, at least see what happens with live music going away. See, what type of effect that has on people, not being able to go see, events overall in person, just being able to congregate and share an experience with someone else, which is why so many people are hopping on podcasts or Zoom to talk to 15 friends at a time that normally they would see going out to a restaurant or a bar or a concert or something like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. It's a good point, and I guess we're in the middle of that experiment right now. And I think things will just get more intense with time, and right now it's only been a couple weeks, 2 weeks, something like that, 3 weeks. But what happens if, it's when we get to the 2-month mark, you know what I'm saying? When business still haven't resolved it, because I mean, the two things that are most scary about everything right now, is, reinfection and mutation. Because if this thing like mutates into something different, and so the people who got the original strand of the coronavirus are no longer immune and they can catch it and then, you know what I'm saying, like circulate that. This could be like forever.
The flu changes every year. If we get a vaccine for this strand of coronavirus, it doesn't mean we'll be able to fight the next one.
You know what I'm saying? So this could be a long journey. Hopefully it's not. Knock on wood, man. I would never, hope for that. But, you never know.
So how has becoming a father these past couple of years changed the framework in any way for which you approach music?
To be honest, it hasn't really changed it much. I know, I could have like a super hallmark response to that. But I had such a hunger from the very beginning when it came to music and, how seriously I approached the craft of making music and writing music, that, I don't think it could get more intense. If anything, it just makes me a little bit more appreciative to be able to do what it is that I do, so that one day, when my daughter's old enough, she's only 2 now, so but she's super smart for being 2, so I feel like I can have conversations with her and she gets it. But when she's a little bit older, I can be an example. I can't, because my parents always told me, like, you can do whatever you want, but then at certain times in life, they had to work for someone else's business or someone else's agenda. It couldn't entirely be their own. And so, for me, my entire adult life, I've been able to call the shots, move how I want to move, bring my ideas to life. Whenever I felt like there was an idea worth testing. And so, I can be living proof that, I can, so when I have a conversation with her, I can say, Riley, you can do it because I did it, you know what I'm saying? And, if you feel strongly enough about something, and you have a decent support system, and you catch a few lucky breaks, you can totally be in full control of what it is that you do. And granted, there's some things in life where if she had a passion to be a firefighter or an astronaut, you're gonna have to answer to NASA. You're gonna have to answer to your local community. So there's always people to answer to, but as long as you're the driving force behind whatever it is that you want to do, and you can feel happy about that, then I can have those conversations with her and say, like, you can definitely do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you've been a driving force as an independent artist for a long time, which got me thinking.
Thank you, my man.
Yeah, of course.
Trying.
It got me thinking, what would a major label have to look like for you to want to be on board for what they wanted to do with you? Because no doubt you've had the option to explore some opportunities like that. If you could look into the future and a year from now, Yonas is on a major label, what would that label look like? What would they have to have done and been fulfilling to you for you to sign on for something like that?
I think so I'm at a different point now. My answer would have been totally different earlier on in my career. But now that I've had a chance to prove to myself that, I can, I could achieve certain things. Just even stuff as silly as like getting 1 million streams, and now we've done that 500 times over. Silly things like, small things like setting up an LLC and what does it take to do that? Small things like having phone calls with a legal team to negotiate a contract with a producer or negotiate a contract with a distribution partner. Small things like, okay, well, how to find the right distribution partner, what I'm saying? To partner with, who's going to actually help you with the things that you need to make sure that a release is successful. These are all like little goals that I had, facilitating a feature with an artist that was bigger than you, what I'm saying? Because that takes you, sometimes having to cough up some money, what I'm saying? And make that happen, to line their pockets. And now you broke bread with somebody that you look up to, and can, lean on them for advice. Cause once you open the wallet, it seems like the phone line's open, the text message is open and everything. So hold on, just lost my light here. Hold on 1 second.
Oh no, you're good.
I got my little setup, you know what I mean?
Sounds like you could open up your own school of music, Yonas School of Music. How to get a feature, how to get 1 million streams.
Yeah, dude, how to
sign, how to basically run your own label. All the things that, if a young artist signs from the jump to a major label and doesn't really have to worry about those things. I guess that's a double-edged sword. If you're with a major label, you have a lot of responsibility that you don't have to worry about, that it's other people's jobs to take care of. But then at the same time, it's also nice to be able to learn how to do that myself or yourself, just so if things aren't in the same situation in the future, you don't have to worry about it.
No, 100%, dude.
Take your time with the mic. I got it all day.
I don't know. I'm good. I'm just like, so this little setup, this was me trying to be all MacGyver and shit. I got like a LED light to make sure that people
might have the
see
same
me.
Boom arm or similar boom arm. It looks like.
Oh yeah, it looks like from the screws. It looks like we
snapped it onto this table right here. Yeah, it's coming handy.
Here we go. Watch, I'm about to fix this up right here.
See if you were on a major label, you wouldn't have to worry about this.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm just kidding.
Yo, but you ain't lying, bro. You are not lying.
But now you know how to set up a microphone.
Now I know how to set it all up. You know what I mean? The microphone.
Part of the school of music.
Yes, it is. It's a hard knock life, bro.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. I got this.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
See, this is real 101 right here, bro. This is real life.
This is problem solving 101.
Yes. Like, here,
how to adjust in real time.
Yes. All right, so I think I'm doing this right. Hold on. Come on now. There you go. Watch, this is gonna be the illest finesse right here.
Yeah.
Once we get this rolling, to go right back into the question and just answer the shit.
Yeah, this could be the start to a studio themed porno. Some girl comes in and says, "Excuse me, do you need help with the microphone?"
That is amazing.
She's like, "Yeah, I could use some help."
Yo, that's hilarious. Oh, you still hear me?
I still got you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh, we're good to go.
Oh, we're good to go.
So silky smooth.
Silky smooth.
What were we talking about?
So
the school of music.
Yeah. No, just being able to have the experience of doing things, yourself. You know what I'm saying? So from all those things, right? It just gave me that confidence, so that when I go into a major label situation, if I go into a major label situation, I know what to look for in, what the A&R is doing. I know what to look for in what, the product, the packaging people are doing with the album, with the communication with the DSPs, digital service providers, what a release is supposed to look like, what a rollout is supposed to look like, how many months in advance you need to properly, get into the right people's ear to kind of preface the project so that people are anticipating it and waiting for it. What the legal paperwork is supposed to look like between the main artist and the producers, if the artist isn't producing all their own stuff, what the splits are supposed to be, traditionally between, artist, producer, any other writers that might be on the tracks, how to go out there and collect your publishing, from both, here in the States as well as overseas. There's a whole world of things that goes into being an artist that people don't even, like 80% of it, people don't even think about, and there's so much money that's left on the table. I got friends that, I've put on and said, oh, by the way, you probably got a $20,000 check that's sitting overseas right now that if you signed up with XYZ, they could go out there and they specialize in collecting that for you. And in 6 to 9 months, you'll get that check because you've been accumulating all these different streams and you haven't even signed up for an account with this company. And that's the only way for you to get that check.
So there are artists right now that have potential income that they're just not cashing in on.
Oh my God.
With the streams and stuff like that.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, man, like it's actually kind of insane.
Do you not get notified? Like say I put out a song or an album, whatever, and I have 20,000 just sitting in an account or something in Germany or whatever, or a potential income from streams. No one reaches out to you and says, hey, just to let you know, you could be cashing in on this. You have to do that yourself.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, what happens to those uncollected royalties over the course of, I think they hold on to it for 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. And then it goes into what's called the black box, right? And it's like this black box fund that if no one's collected those royalties in that time period, they take that money and they distribute it out to the top earning artists as an added like bonus. Check.
That seems like the opposite of what it should. They should give it to the lowest returning artists and be like, because the top don't need anything more. If you're no disrespect to someone, but if you're like Post Malone or Ariana Grande or whatever, and you don't even like, you're not even in charge of your own operation, you got a constant stream of income. You don't need that extra money on the top.
No. You know what I mean? And but that's what happens. They distribute that out, and the artist will never see that money, if they haven't collected it in that time frame. It
seems like something that should, and I know people are working on it in the music industry, but just to make the payment for something like a songwriting split or royalties more transparent and just more interconnected, like a web. Like if you have royalties that you could cash in on in so country, that's all connected. So you get notified about that, or someone, your label lets you know, or like the information is coming to you instead of you having to go out there and basically find your money. Like that's what it sounds like. You have to like go see where it is. That seems like the opposite of what it should be.
Oh yeah, everything is opposite day in the music world. But I think the main thing with that is the music industry just needs to find like a way to centralize everything. I think that there's so many different compartments to the industry, where you almost have to like go through a maze to achieve this part, or you need to then go down this hallway to go achieve that part. And if you turn too soon before getting to the end of that hallway, you miss the whole fucking room to begin with, right? And so it's like, it's really a maze. And, it's really tough to navigate if you don't have the knowledge. And the only way to get the knowledge is to talk to very experienced people, seasoned people who aren't very accessible. And so, it's just this constant cycle of a lack of information. And, now luckily for, up and coming artists, if they have the motivation, they could find information out on the internet, because at one point artists didn't have that. And that's when, some of your favorite artists and some of the most legendary artists were actually screwed over on the business side, on the back end, because they just didn't have that information and there was nowhere to get the information. It's not like it was at a local library.
That's where the YONAS School of Music comes in.
You know what I'm saying?
The lectures.
Yeah, man.
It's like, this is how you know if you're getting fucked over with royalty payments or whatever.
100%, dude. And so I guess to like just cap that whole thing off is, the music industry just needs to find like, a way to centralize everything so that it's a one-stop shop and you get everything. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to go searching for royalties over in Germany. You don't have to go searching for your royalties here, your publishing here in the US. If they can find a way to like centralize that and make it just a one-stop shop where everyone's treated fairly and everyone collects their money, and it's just like an organization that makes sure that that's all handled. I think it would do great for the artist community. And it's also a way that eventually you could set up benefits for artists. If you find a way to centralize everything, you can, because a lot of artists don't have health insurance. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine being in this time right now where coronavirus is happening. You might be able to take the test, for free, but then certain treatments come out of pocket. I don't know, some weird shit going on where people are getting bills for being in the hospital for literally a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? And so being a musician and being an artist without health insurance, that's got to be the scariest thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? And then you think about like people like, folks that are going through mental health issues. And not having the ability to find help in that area. You know what I'm saying? Like, this all just comes from the music industry not having a centralized place where you can get all the information. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And where it's a one-stop shop for everybody, so that, you know, there's no stone unturned and nobody gets left behind, you know?
Yeah, and it seems like one of the major benefits of being independent is that it makes you unbullshittable in a sense, where if you decide to go to a label in the future and they tell you, you know, this is going to take so and so weeks, or this is going to take 3 months to do, or we're going to have to pay X amount of dollars for this, and you've done that already yourself, you know what that's going to cost or how much time that's actually going to take. You can't, like, I guess it makes you more immune to the bullshit having done it all yourself already.
100%. No, absolutely. That's what I was saying. It's like you gain that experience of dealing with the lawyers. You gain that experience of dealing with a distribution company. You gain that experience of dealing with your peers and other artists. And so you know what to look for, you know what I'm saying, in other people, to make sure that they're doing the right job. You know what to look for in a manager, you know what I'm saying? Like, once you get to that point, independently, where you need to hire a manager to help you with like some of your day-to-day stuff and, you know, taking your career to the next level, you get to go through that experience and, you know what you should be expecting from a manager. You know, and you can kind of get screwed over on a small basis, so that when you get to the big stuff, you've already been screwed over, so you don't get screwed over on the millions, because that's where it's like sad. It's like some of these artists, man, they're getting screwed out of millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then they end up broke because of the way that their contracts are put together. You know what I'm saying? So it's good. I would say that every artist needs to experience at least the first 2-3 years of their career independently, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, you can
how do you regain lost focus if you're, you know, getting after it in the studio and for some reason things don't feel like it's clicking, or you don't feel like you're tapping into that energy like you do at your highest point? What type of things do you do to regain that focus?
Man, I just go live life. Sometimes it's good to not be focused. You know what I mean? It's good to lose the focus and to focus on some other things, because at the end of the day, music is based on life experiences. And so, you know, you can't gain life experiences by being in the studio all day. You know, and so eventually you're going to have to go out into the world and just live your life for a little bit and go through relationships and breakups and, you know, tiffs with friends and making some mistakes in life, drinking too much, partying, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Going broke a little bit, then getting back on your feet. You got to go through all those things, because then that makes for a great album. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think about that too, because, you know, when you're podcasting, if you're in the studio all day and you're spending all your time editing or recording and you're not really getting out, when things are normal, when you know, bars are open, restaurants are open, like you can go to live events, then it kind of saps that experience and that creative energy that you use to fuel your creativity, that used to fuel your music or whatever it is, your writing, your podcasting. And so sometimes, you know, when I know that I need to step away from the studio, I tell myself that this activity is going to recharge me. Like I'm going to be better for it. 'Cause sometimes I struggle with that, where I think the answer is just to work through the lost focus.
Work, keep working.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with just like the vibe of New York City too, where you're just surrounded by the hustle.
Yep.
But I think that, you know, when you get away from that a little bit, you start to see how just doing nothing can be a benefit. Just
Yeah.
going for a walk, or like listening to music in the morning on your walk to work or subway ride, where you're not trying to make or do anything. You're just being there. You're just like existing for a little bit.
Yeah, that's the biggest misconception, man. It's like sometimes doing nothing is the most productive thing you can be doing.
What do you
See, I got my little hallmark, you know what I'm saying? I be sliding them in there.
Yeah. You slide them in and set those cards out.
There you go.
What do you consider your biggest comparative strength as a hip hop artist and a rapper?
What do you mean?
In the realm of rapping, if you look at all of your peers and the different things that they hone in on, their different strengths, their different weaknesses, the things that they focus on in rapping and in hip hop, what do you consider your biggest strength, or one of your biggest strengths, when you look at it as a whole, and then you kind of zoom in on Yonas?
Shit, that's a tough one. I guess just my resilience, because that just like it shows, it rears its head in like so many different ways. You know, if you don't have that resilience, like you can't continue to create even when the well has run dry. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, like you said, it's like there's moments where you just have to do nothing, and allow the well to fill back up, because there's going to be moments where you tap out. But it's like, how many times can you refill that well? You know what I'm saying? Like some people can only do it once, you know, and that's why they have maybe a good freshman album and then a good sophomore album, and then they just got nothing left. You know, it just that it will never fill back up. Mentally, emotionally, they just get so drained out that, you know, it's just like they tap out. And then, you know, maybe they try and force it, and then the third, fourth, fifth project just sound like somebody that's miserable and doesn't want to be doing what they're doing. You know, and so for me, I'm able to fill that well up every single time it dries out. You know what I'm saying? And I can do that for the rest of my life. You know, and I know that just because I've done it so many times.
When that well, when you're at a point in your life when you feel like that well is drying up a little bit, what do you think about, or what kind of processes do you hone in on in order to focus on filling that well back up, and not just, you know, a lot of people would just let it dry out, and then just that's it, like fuck it, I'm just gonna get a real job or something like that. Like what do you focus on when you feel that well it's starting to dry up? Or things that you remind yourself of? I
love to do this, you know, that I love making music, and that it's a blessing to be able to even have this be my career. I could be doing something that I really wouldn't like doing, you know what I'm saying? And then that would really be the definition of terrible. And I just I find new ways to look at the world, you know what I'm saying? Which I think is important for an artist to do, because, you know, you also don't want to have the same approach over and over and over again to the point where you're sounding the same in everything that you do. You're talking about the same things all the time. You know, then you just start to sound like that drunk person on the corner that just is stuck in one fucking zone all the time. And you're like, all right, crazy motherfucker.
The bottle in the paper bag.
Yeah, straight up. Yo, man, if anything in this life I don't want to be, is that guy. No offense. I mean, that's some people make choices and end up there. And
if you're that guy listening to this podcast right now,
get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Get way away. There's a way out. Trust. But just, you know, find a new way to, you know, find new ways to look at the world. You know, whether that's, you know, through reading. I haven't read as much as I want to be reading recently, last couple years. But when I was younger, I read a lot. You know what I'm saying? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books. You know,
I could send you some good books after this.
Yes, please. Oh man, that'd be awesome. And yeah, just, you know what I'm saying? Just whether it's through reading or whether it's through watching even a good TV show and just like really dissecting the characters. Like watch a TV show and don't just watch it and zone out. You know what I'm saying? Like watch it and appreciate the storyline. Maybe like jot down some ideas about what you like about a certain character. You know what I'm saying? Just think about, oh, why did the writer make this character this way? How did the writer communicate what they saw on paper to the actor or the producer or the director so that they could bring it to life, right? And you start to think about the intricacies of all those different things going on. And then, you know, your mind just opens up and, you know, and it bleeds into your art form, whatever that may be. And you start to approach your craft a little bit differently and with and a little bit more re-energized, because now you're no longer just like me. You're writing from the perspective of being thoughtful about the rest of the world, other people, and then if you can really dive into like other people's struggles and other people's mentalities and other people's little quirks and stuff, man, I mean, you got a whole world out there of what we said, 7 billion plus people that, you know, you can draw inspiration from, you know what I'm saying? And so, so it's just like that, you know, it's just, you know, that's kind of what, I do to kind of reset and to refill the well, so to speak. And, you know, when you do it that way, it makes it easy, man, because it's no longer about you. It's about what you can gain from the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And going back to watching stuff, I think that watching TV or watching movies has more of a negative connotation than it should, because I feel like in society we think that reading is the active activity and you're using your creativity and imagination, and then watching is a passive activity where you're just getting everything spoon-fed to you. But you can definitely be an active watcher of a TV series or a movie and try to break down in your head why it's happening and what's happening. Like you said, trying to figure out why a character's doing this or that. And there's also there's a spectrum for both sides. Like there's garbage reading and then there's great reading too. So like it's not just because you're reading doesn't mean you're necessarily growing. And then the same thing on the watching TV or movie side. There's great TV and movies, and then there's also garbage TV movies that you just like leave on in the background.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
I think you can watch and grow just like you can read and grow. It's not necessarily a passive activity just because you're watching something.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's a great point. Yeah, you can watch and grow just like you can read and not grow and digress. You know what I'm saying? Because, reading is looked at as the thing that 100% of the time, you know, stimulates your brain and makes you smarter and all that shit. Yeah. But it's not true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, you're just like, if I mean, no disrespect to BuzzFeed or whatever, but like, I don't really feel like I grow when I'm reading a top 10 on BuzzFeed of like The Bachelor or whatever. Like, nope. And just because I'm reading an article and books too, there have been books that I've read where I'm just like, why did I waste 2 weeks reading that? Or now I'll just stop. But in the past, I always thought, you know, I'm reading, I gotta finish this book because reading.
Right, exactly.
But now I'm way better at just kind of trying to recognize, regardless of the medium of the content, I'm trying to think about how, you know, beyond just the entertainment value, what can I take out of this?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's a great point. So
one of the questions I wanted to ask you is what do most people get wrong about you?
Well, that's a good question.
I think I stole it from someone.
Nice.
Smarter than me. Someone that's in that upper echelon of Centralized. I took it. I grabbed it back to the middle.
No, theft is a form of flattery. Shit, man. I think maybe that that I'm more serious than I am. You know, at times. Just because I think New Yorkers get that in general, because we walk around like, you know, for years through New York streets, like chest out, and you know, we ain't gonna take that. More importantly, we ain't gonna take no shit, you know, so don't even try to start no shit. And so, you know, developing that type of a swag, and you know, when I walk around now in suburban neighborhoods where I'll be at, where I find myself at sometimes, or like most of the time living out in VA, you know, it could come off as standoffish, and so maybe that, I don't know, you know, I don't know. That's a great question. I gotta ask other people what they think. Yeah. And then maybe see, oh, well, that's not true.
That's a good answer, though. That you're not as serious or
aggressive, or you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
As you come out, as you think that you come off to other people.
Exactly. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I didn't really learn to walk around with any type of bravado until I got into sports. When I started playing baseball when I was like 13 or 14.
That'll do it.
I grew up in Plainview, Long Island, which is, and then they called it Plainview because it's like the whitest, most Jewish neighborhood.
Oh, I'm very familiar with Long Island, man.
Yeah. So it's like you don't really get the city vibe. No one's like, everyone drives everywhere. You're not really running into people on the street. Like there's not as much confrontation. So I didn't really get those aggressive moments until I was on the baseball field with other guys, and they were like started to test you, like see like, all right, like is this kid a pussy? Like what is he gonna do if I talk shit to him on the field? Or, like stuff like that. Yeah. So I definitely feel like I got that through sports.
Yeah. Now, what position you play?
Pitcher.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that's definitely a position where, I mean, you're facing how many guys in the lineup per
There's
team?
9 guys in the lineup, and if you're a starter, you're probably going through them 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, so you got to face 9 other dudes 3 times in a couple hours.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so yeah, psychologically too. That's because I played baseball. I just didn't remember how many guys in the lineup, because that changes too. No, it doesn't change actually from American League to National League. It's just you switch out the DH for the pitcher hitting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. American League is DH. National League is the pitcher
hits. Yeah. Oh, I hated the National League.
I wanted to hit. I was just terrible at it. And when I was in high school, I hit a little bit, and then I knew I wanted to play baseball in college, and it would have been sick if I could have hit too. And the only offers I got to play in college were for just pitching. So then I just had to come to the realization that I was a shitty hitter, and I just had to go with pitching, which I love pitching. I'm grateful that I was a pitcher, but if I were to go back and live a second life as a baseball player, I would definitely want to be like a third baseman or like center fielder.
Ooh, third base was the move. Man, who did I used to like third base? Cal Ripken, that's obvious. Yeah. But it was a really random dude. Oh, Scott Brocious.
Yeah.
Scott Brocious, New York Yankees third baseman, man.
That's a throwback.
Yo, bro, I'm telling you.
What was that infield? You got Scott Brocious, Chuck Knobloch,
Derek Jeter, Tino.
Derek Jeter, yeah. Paul
O'Neill was.
Paul O'Neill, yeah.
He was out. I think
with
he was right
with the
field.
Helmet on his head.
Yeah. He was out there in right field. We had Tino in there behind the plate. It was either Jorge Posada or Joe Girardi, and then center field we had Bernie. And I forget we had left field. Left field was always like interchangeable as Shane Spencer or some random fucking person.
Yeah.
But yo, those were the days, dude. Bronx Bombers. I mean, it was an amazing time to be a Yankee fan in the 90s. When I paid the most attention to baseball and stuff. But those are golden days, bro.
If I was gonna go back and be another position again, I would definitely want to be a Dominican shortstop. So a shortstop from the Dominican Republic. Like,
yo,
the way
that's amazing.
Because on my summer ball team, there were a bunch of kids that were from the DR, like some from Venezuela, just like Latino baseball players. Mm-hmm. And then when I started playing with them, that was like my introduction to flash and like making stuff look good. Like just because you're making a simple play doesn't mean you can't make it look good. And
Oh yeah.
just like the way that they carry themselves, and like it's a whole different culture down there. Like not only do you have to make the play, but like you're gonna look good when you do it.
Oh yeah.
And like that, I would want to be a flashy Dominican shortstop for sure.
Yeah.
That would be
I feel you on that one, bro. Yeah, because who was over there and that played for the Mets? Ray Ordonez. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that dude used to like get like grab backhands and flip over, roll over, jump up, throw it to first, and get people out. It was crazy.
I remember we played George Washington High School my senior year in high school, and they had a shortstop that was supposed to go in the first round or the supplemental round, which is between first and second round for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And he must have been throwing, upper 90s across the infield. And then he came into pitch, and
good God.
he warmed up like 2 pitches, and then he was just pumping mid 90s to high school kids. And we were used to seeing low 80s, and I was like, damn, like,
fuck that noise.
This kid is swaggy as fuck, and he throws hard as shit. Like,
yeah, it's no joke, man.
Now. I hope he's still playing.
Yeah. You'd be surprised, man, because I played a little high school baseball too. I played for Beacon.
Okay.
Yeah, Beacon Blue Devils or Blue Demons, I forget. But yeah, we actually won a division championship state. We played at Shea Stadium and everything.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and we had a prospect who was supposed to go pro and ended up playing for a farm club, but you'd be surprised, like once you get out from that high school level and then you go to college and or the pros, there's just so much talent, you know what I'm saying? And it's just difficult. Like some of the people you think there would be superstars, they don't catch the right breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And, then they have to, if they weren't smart about it, they got to figure out what to do in life now, because all they did was baseball or basketball or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's real. The post-athletic identity crisis is definitely something I went to. Once baseball was taken away, what am I going to do with my life after that? Because it just becomes a part of you. And, in a lot of ways, it was more important than school and more important than going to class for me at times. Like I'd be like, fuck it. Like if I'm playing well, then I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
What else is happening? And then after that, you kind of like podcasting has been huge, and just looking for other outlets, especially creative outlets, definitely helps with that identity shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
So something I wanted to end on is, I saw that you played the violin when you were younger, and that you have a bit of experience in classical music.
Yeah.
How has that framed the way in which you approach music, or been maybe changed the way you make music in a way that maybe you wouldn't have if you didn't play the violin or weren't exposed to classical music?
I think pretty much just it just gave me a foundation, you know what I mean? And the melodies and the notation and the structure of the music is so complex, with the different movements and the different instruments that play the different parts. And you get to learn, you get to learn how to read music. And so through that whole process, it's like a rigorous process, man. Like you're practicing 4 hours a day, and then you're going to classes like 2 times a week if you're like really into the thick of it. And so through that whole process, being surrounded by all this intricate music and the history of music, and learning from people who studied at some of the top schools just to come teach kids how to play music, being around that, but you like inherit all of that. Like you embody all of it, you know what I'm saying? And without even really being conscious of it, you're not thinking I'm going to be able to use this to create my own music one day. At that point, you're just trying to figure out how do I play this successfully? How do I get past my recital so that I don't look like a fucking idiot in front of everyone's parents and my teacher? And so that's like your goal at that time. But then fast forward 10, 15, 20 years later, you've got that in you. So when you go to create your own music, you have like a wealth of, you know, experiences to draw from. You have like a wealth of musical knowledge to draw from. And so for me, now going to create hooks and top line, which is what they call writing hooks, to like go over there and to go to studio sessions and have to communicate music with people. I'm able to do that, which I think a lot of hip hop artists aren't able to do just because they haven't had the opportunity to kind of experience that. So it just makes it easier for me to create. It makes, you know, it's like my second language. You know, I could go into any studio and feel right at home, you know, so with anybody. You know, it could be Ryan Leslie, it could be Timbaland, it could be, you know, one of my peers locally that, you know, I want to go in the studio and work with them. So just the whole range of people from, you know, from top to bottom, I could go in the studios and connect on a wavelength where we can get some music done and some good music done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like learning the classical music is like a common language or common bridge that allows you to work with different people.
100%. You know, it allows you to work with other people, and it just, you know, it allows you. It's kind of like how we started this whole thing, right? It's like without having to spend 22 hours figuring out how does this wire connect to this interface so that we can get on the podcast and just talk. It allows you to cut through all that and just get to the point, which is making music and being creative. So you don't lose time trying to figure out how to communicate the idea. You just get the idea out. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the most important thing with music, and why a lot of artists have engineers and studios where people know how to do that for them, is so that they can just get the idea out. You know what I'm saying? And not have to worry about the X amount of hours it takes to work the technical shit. So that's kind of what it's like. You know what I'm saying? It's having a fast track way of just getting the ideas out. You know.
Last question. What's your favorite color?
Favorite color is purple. It didn't used to be. Now it is. My favorite color was blue at one point.
Yeah.
But it's fucking purple, man. Purple is dope.
Does it have anything to do with Kobe? R.I.P.
R.I.P. Maybe in like a subconscious way, not like off the top of my head. Although I was a fan of Kobe from the very beginning when he was rocking the fro. And he was number 8. And he was just an arrogant son of a bitch. I love that motherfucker. Like he was like making guest appearances on Moesha on TV. You know,
he changed to 24. He's like, this is the new me.
I hated that. I was like, what the fuck is 24?
Yeah.
You know, number 8, we just gotten so used to it. I bought sneakers that had the number 8 on it, and you know what I'm saying? So it's like you fell in love with that.
Yeah, you're like, well, are you going to pay for my new sneakers? Send
me
new sneakers
bro.
at 24?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, but I think it's looking back in hindsight, it's like, it's one of the coolest things that he retired 2 numbers. You know what I'm saying? How many people retire 2 numbers? And so he got to retire 2 numbers, which is fucking badass. You know what I mean?
Rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P., man.
Well, thank you again for hopping on the podcast. I really do.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it, and for joining me in the mutual quarantine and having this conversation. I had a blast, and
likewise,
I hope you did too. And I hope we do this again soon. This was fun.
Yes, sir, man. No, I appreciate you for having me. You know, people need this medium of entertainment, so you keep fucking doing it, keep rocking. You know, you're teaching the people stuff through these conversations, and keeping them entertained. You know what I'm saying? So it's dope, dude. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to this podcast in my next life as a Dominican shortstop.
Yo, facts.